venues didn't have its first meeting until Friday, and the first meeting of the subgroup, they don't meet until early June. So the development of the COVID guidelines for our sector haven't even started to be written yet. And while it might be possible for small cinemas like us to come back with very, very much reduced audiences, but whether the audience, we would certainly have to put up ticket prices, whether people would want to sit alone, whether the film industry will let us have a film for just a tiny return. And they've also been delivering via other platforms as well, so the whole industry might change too. Theatres and cinemas, it's really, really unclear. Sorry, theatres, it's really unclear, and people are worrying now about whether pantomime will take place. That's the big thing for a lot of venues. And even if it could take place with reduced audiences, would that have the same effect even if it were viable? So that's the kind of an update of where we are. The ideas in the paper that I wrote out were really just set against a background of us not being able to operate the Arts Centre with a regular programme. And they're suggestions for projects which already exist within the Town Council, really. Some can be put into action quite quickly, and others could be started, would need a bit more preparation to get forward. But all have got social distancing integrated into them from the beginning, and have the community of Haverhill at their heart. So the reason why I asked if it could come to today's meeting is I'm aware of the budget, looking at the budgets, and if we waited until then we'd have another month before we could bring some projects. So this is just to get an idea from councillors as to the type of projects which they might say, yes, start going ahead with. Other ones, well, yeah, once we know the budget, we can have a look to see whether that's the type of thing. So they're all kind of grabbing hold of the post-COVID or the current COVID, what's happening with people, what's important to them in terms of, the idea of rainbows, the idea of being more green, not using your car so much, not wasting food. So it's all those types of things which people have outlined that have become more important to them, the great outdoors, being in the great outdoors. So, the names that I've given there, they're just suggestions, but it's they're trying to give some context as to how the Town Council might launch these as the things that the Town Council are doing, as we can't do what we normally do. So hopefully that's useful to you. I can either, just take questions about individual projects or just answer questions in the general discussion.
Okay, thank you, Nick, for that update. I'm just trying to see if there's anyone, Paul or Joe, talking. Anybody want to ask Nick any specific questions now? Tony, I can see your hand up, Councillor Brown. Unmute, please. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Nick, the Rainbow Garden, the old Chalkson School playing field, there was already a committee set up to look at the future for that. We'd engage with Cleves House, other partners, etc., etc. Are we going to start afresh, or are we going to?
Colin has asked Vicky Phillips, sorry, worked with her for too long, to lead on this project, and she was just about starting to get that group back together, plus more, when lockdown happened. So really, this is a reimagining of how to launch it. Really saying, well, we can bring that forward, get that group together somehow, but give it a name. And the rainbow is the kind of the joining thing. It seems to be a very, very something which would enthuse people, really. But yes, so the answer to your question is it would be that group plus others.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cheers, Nick. Thank you.
Was there anybody else who wants?
Yes, please. Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, sorry, Paula, please go ahead. Yeah.
Nick, you mentioned about older people in the survey saying they wouldn't come back for 3 or 4 months till they felt safer. Is that 3 or 4 months since March, or 3 or 4 months from that survey, which was last week?
That's in terms of theatre, and that is 3 or 4 months since the survey was done. The latest update was the first week of May.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, obviously, if anybody's got any comments, they can always email Nick with questions and everything.
So it's really is whether there's any of the projects which are there, which could, you know, the council would like to say, yes, get the go ahead. I mean, the community kitchen we have got some funding to employ someone. We can find out how that might fit into the current COVID response, how it might dovetail with what they're providing now, or whether what they might have to provide after. But if I can get the go ahead to, you know, get that project off the ground, working with local artists, or just something about planning events that you know, the large events program won't be able to happen. That doesn't mean that we won't be able to take advantage of small events. There was somewhere which has got an idea of pre-booked picnic places on open spaces as well. So some idea of us being able to have something which we can put into an events program, that would be useful if you could indicate some of these are ideas which we could just get going on.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just reading Paula's comment. Pat, sorry, and I see David Smith after that. Don't forget to unmute yourself, Pat.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, my computer went off through most of what Nick said. I'm on the committee for the Rainbow Gardens, as I've just heard it's called. That sort of just, I think Councillor Brown was talking just as I came back in, so I missed most of what you said. But I'll catch up later on it. Thank you, Nick. I'll email you if there's anything I want to know. Thank you.
Councillor David Smith.
Yeah, very interested in the Clean Haverhill, Green Haverhill project. That seems very, very good, and I think that's the sort of thing that we were hoping for when the Energy and Sustainability Committee was formed. So anything along those lines, very happy with.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see anybody else wanting to speak. I think it's just important. I mean, we all know that the best one in the world, the Arts Centre, is not going to reopen anytime soon in any form. But I think some of the stuff outside, from my personal view, as David Smith and Tony just said, even, I mean, the community kitchen, I don't have a major problem with. My only view would be we have narrow corridor between the main hall and the community kitchen, for example, making sure that people are not, you know, if the 2 metre spacing carries on and doesn't go down to 1 metre as some pubs want, you know, we have to make sure that works well, particularly people who, let's just say, are don't necessarily follow the rules or don't want to follow the rules. But much of the other stuff, sorry, go on, Nick.
We wouldn't be inviting them into the kitchen. The kitchen would be used by volunteers who would be having strict guidelines within there. And
Okay.
if we had people eating, they would be in the main hall, and you can use one door in and one door out of the main hall to get people to the loos. That would be the idea for that, if we did that way. But they might just be producing meals for either people shielding, if that's the way things go, or even during the summer holidays for people on low incomes.
Okay, my only other question I was going to say was, or statement perhaps, is where do we're not 100% certain where our budget is going yet, are we? Overall, I'm talking about. Is this something that really should wait until at least we get, and I'm not saying necessarily to the end of June, but an idea of where the budget is going, because obviously lack of income and everything else going on?
Well, the community kitchen budget exists now, so that wouldn't demand any extra income for it. That stays there.
No, I understand that, yeah.
Projects to engage artists, that's just a start of an engagement, really. So that could go without any expenditure. If you were looking for a fail-safe for some events, then you could say, if there isn't the money in the current budget, then you could look to use some reserves for some events during the summer. But if we wait until June, and we do have the government do give some idea of when the next lot of things are, the end of June, we won't have enough time to put something in place. So it's really looking at whether you could put a figure towards some small scale events if we get the opportunity to have those. That could come from reserves if the money isn't there once the Colin's done his magic with the budget.
Yeah, I know, it's rocket science sometimes. Okay. Sorry, Councillor McManus. Yeah, you need to unmute yourself, Elaine.
Does Nick want to give us a figure that we would like to agree? Would he like to propose a figure? I agree with him. I think we need to start the ball rolling, and for functions, events. Has he got a figure in mind that he would like to take from the budget?
Very difficult to say, but I mean, we're not talking anything big scale, because we can't have anything big, if you know what I mean. So if we just started off with something like £5,000 being available, and then we can work up more once we know a bit more.
I mean, I would say, of course, we have a sorry, Lane. Sorry, go back.
Can I propose that we would let Nick have the 5,000 then? Just to
look, before you do that, let me just say we obviously have budgets for all the summer events. What we would normally do, and I'm looking at Colin at the moment as well. I know, you know, whether or not we have the budgets for all the summer events, which look like they're cancelled anyway, aren't they? Is whether we divert some of that money.
I can't imagine that £5,000, which is, I guess, seed money to be spent during the rest of May and June, is going to be so decisive, because if it is, it means we really are in a big problem, because we do have reserves.
Yeah.
I think Nick needs to have something, and I can't believe that we're not going to have any events. So what Nick's suggesting sounds perfectly sensible, but I think we should make it clear we're talking about £5,000 to enable planning to go on. That's not necessary. That's not the event money itself. You can agree in June, once Nick has got all his plans together. But as Nick said, if he's not allowed to start planning till the 20-something of June, then it won't be in time anyway.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'm quite keen for all, if or most, if not all of them. I don't know what others think. Certainly things like the what Nick's now called the Rainbow Garden, or whatever. Rainbow Garden, because I think that's a great big open space. You can have a hell of a lot of social distancing, a lot of work probably done for not much money spend wise. So anyway, well, let's go for that. If people are happy with the 5,000 Elaine has proposed, and I just want to say to members of the public who are joining, this is still the full town council meeting, so it's not the planning meeting you may have been expected to join. And that's seconded by Councillor Marks. Is that right? Yeah. Could you just confirm that audibly, Margaret? Unmute yourself.
And Elaine's proposal.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much. Can I then have a show of hands, please, to all those in favour, please show. That is unanimous as far as I can tell. Lovely. And Joe, Councillor Mason, oh, sorry, Councillor Mason's already said that. And I think Councillor Fox has also said that as well. Yes. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. What I'll do is I'll keep councillors updated on all of the strands as to where we're at, so that I'll give interim reports. So it's not me just going off and doing stuff. This is a real community work in action.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on swiftly on to item number 10. Tendering working party. I initially read this and thought, what are we getting involved with Southend for? But then I realised it's not tendering. This is something I've been going on for quite a while, as Colin will well tell you. Ensuring that we get value for money out of all our contracts, coming from a background which I used to do this many times over. Not just a case of we've always used them, let's carry on with them. They may still be brilliant at their job, but let's try and find out whether they are from an efficiency point of view, a financial point of view, and all other aspects. So anyone have any comments on this, please? Okay. Sorry, Dave, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I just think if, as the chair of the council, I think it should always possibly be the mayor that is involved with things like this, anything involving around big spends. So I think as a matter of course, the mayor should do the training. If they're not trained already, then they should be offered the training in this.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean, I think we're hoping to find people who have done this as part of their business background, rather than having to go and necessarily train anybody up. I mean, and we're not talking about necessarily big budget things. We're talking about designing conceptually terms of reference for how we go about going out for contract tendering, as and I'm sure Colin will add into this if I'm saying anything else, but things like going out, working out what you need, going out for requests for information, requests for quotes, and obviously checking whatever comes back, making sure it meets the needs, and ultimately afterwards, after you've signed a contract or implemented it, is regularly making sure it's doing its job as an overseer from that point of view. So it's really a terms of reference. But Colin, have you got anything else to add on that?
Only to endorse what you just said. We're talking about the democratic oversight of officers who are the ones who will actually do the tendering exercise. We've done tendering exercises before for the pump track, which Councillor Smith was involved in. We've done them for the fireworks. We have fireworks, the Christmas lights, sorry. So yes, we know how to do it and all the rest of it. It's just that what would be useful would be to have a small group of councillors who can oversee the tenders. Otherwise, we're going to be having to drag them all through, full council or a finance meeting, and it's probably easier for a working party to have a discussion than it is to try and agree these things in a large formal meeting.
Does that make sense to everyone? So is there anybody particularly who's had experience of overseeing or negotiating tenders, contracts, whatever? Have you done anything, David? You've done something. Well, you've done your pump track, didn't you?
Yeah, I suppose so. I'm trying not to sort of take too many things on at the moment, but
well, no,
if nobody else is jumping forward, I'll be happy to do it.
Well, as you said, I'm quite happy to do it. I've done many things like this in my past, although, as I said to someone earlier on, I don't think buying a new radar is relevant to town council, but, you know. Anyone else? I can't see anybody else jumping up and down. Is 2 enough, Colin?
Well, don't forget you haven't got Councillor Roach here who may be interested, or Councillor Furman.
Yeah.
I have put it in the box in the chat.
Sorry, Paul, I'm trying to, yeah, sorry, it keeps disappearing off my screen, sorry. Oh, sorry, Paula. Yeah, no problem. Paula would like to be part of it. Oh, and yeah, that's fine. Sorry. That's 3 of us then. And we could ask, obviously, we could ask David and Paul if they're interested. Okay, we need a proposer for that then. Councillor McManus, a seconder. Sorry, Councillor Smith. Sorry, I keep getting sunlight in my eyes. Okay, all those in favour, please show then. That's all okay. Lovely. Thank you very much. Swiftly on, item number 11, review of standing orders and financial regulations, which were adopted in April, March 2 years ago. I don't think there's nothing changed, is there, Colin?
No, you did adopt them at the May 2019 annual meeting of the Town Council as well. They're reviewed and adopted every single year.
Yeah.
So this is just standard, but there's no alterations to the models have been sent out since you last looked at them.
Okay. So unless everyone's got any comments, can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Davison, seconded Councillor Marks. All those in favour, please show. And I'm just looking down at the chat. Councillor Fox, yes. Councillor Mason, yes. So that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item number 12.
Sorry, John, before we move on to that, can I just ask, obviously the discussions we've had around the town annual meeting and mayor making and things like that, I can't see that is actually covered in the standing orders, or am I missing it? The fact that we're not holding the meeting in May.
John Collins.
The legislation, emergency legislation was passed, which means that councils don't have to hold an annual meeting this year. They have to hold one by May 2021.
Okay, thank you.
So item number 12, confirm to our current auditors who are Heelis and Lodge. Contracts expires this month, and because of all what we're doing at the moment, is this confirm a 1-year extension of the independent internal auditors? Anything to add to that, Colin? No? Okay. Unless everyone's got any comments on those, can I propose, please? Councillor Davison again, seconded Councillor McManus. All those in favour, please show. And Councillor Mason, sorry, Councillor Fox, yeah, so I've got that. I'm assuming, I think Councillor Mason, yeah, Councillor Mason as well, that's unanimous. Item 13, to note the town clerk, to put my teeth back in, town clerk is appointed responsible financial officer. Again, it's part of the annual meeting, isn't it?
Just noting this.
Noting it, yeah. Okay. Are we all happy to note that? Nobody's nodding, shaking their heads or anything. Item 14, to receive a verbal report from members of Clerk about 1 Haverhill. Well, nothing's happened, and the master plan meeting's just been cancelled as well. Yeah. So nothing to report on that, unless anyone else has anything to say. No. 14B for Bravo, the Haverhill Volunteer Centre. Did you want to update?
Yes, so to confirm that Jill Moss has started her work, and she's also joined with Vicky and Alicia in helping to coordinate the COVID-19 response. We've got more volunteers coming on board with that. They've come through Tribe, so we've been working to get them on board, and we're also we've submitted a funding application for the role of Good Neighbour scheme coordinator, which we hope would be the legacy, so we capture all the volunteering that's gone on and the spirit of humanity that people have shown. so that volunteering can continue. And that's particularly important because as the lockdown eases, certainly the County Council and West Suffolk Council will have to release their officers back to their day jobs because the actual demand for that work will increase. And so surely will Town Council responsibility. So we are going to find that we're going to need to backfill that. So we'll see how we get on with the funding application, but that would all come under the Haverhill Volunteer Centre.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Any comments on that at all from anybody? Can't see any hands up. That's great. Moving on to item 15, to authorise the payment list as per the agenda, totalling £20,671.25. This is stuff that Tony and myself certainly have approved, the actual invoices. Any proposer for that, please? Councillor Stinchcombe, I saw your hand go up first, and Councillor McManus, sorry, Bruce, I saw McManus second. All those in favour, please show. And Councillor Mason and Fox says yes as well. That's fine. Great. Item 16, to receive any urgent correspondence. Colin? Nothing. Okay, date of next meeting is Monday, 22nd of June, 2020, hopefully online. I can't see us meeting physically. Before we close, just the members of the public who are still here, the planning meeting will start. What time would you like to start, Colin? A little short break?
It's Pat is the...
Yeah, where's Pat? I can't see Pat. Where is he? Oh, there you are. What time do you want to start, Pat?
Well, as soon as possible, okay.
Okay, well, I guess people might want a short break. It's probably going to be a long planning meeting. Yeah.
Hold on, I've noticed people are putting their hand up saying 2 minutes. So it seems like they want a 2-minute break.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, some.
Well, did you want to say it's 4 minutes past 8 now? Do you want to say start at 10 past 8? 6 minutes?
5 minutes, yeah, all right, okay. 10, yeah.
Well, those members of the public who are still here, we're going to start again. That's planning meeting. Councillor Hanlon will be chairing it, assisted gloriously by Vicky Phillips, our assistant town clerk, who I see down in the picture. And I think Colin Paul, the town clerk, will be managing the technology. It should also be now being broadcast on YouTube as well, although there is about a minute's delay normally between Zoom and YouTube. Thank you very much indeed. Item 18, I'll declare the meeting closed at 4 minutes past 8. Thank you all very much. Don't leave the meeting as you're, if you're going away, stop your video, mute your microphone or anything. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. Thank you, Alicia. And Elaine, whoever else is going. And Margaret. Okay. Just gonna go stop.
Okay, everyone. Are we ready to start?
Pat, just I think that might be your system making that sounds like a bee buzzing to me. I don't know if anyone else can hear it.
I'll mute it and see if it goes off when I mute it.
Yes, it does. Okay.
I have no idea what it is, I'm afraid.
Okay.
It might be my laptop. It is quite old. I'm sorry about that. Unless I try my, let's try my earphones. Hold on.
I don't know if anyone else can hear that at all. That's strange. Oh, okay.
I can't hear anything.
No, okay.
Is that any different?
Can't hear anything, Pat.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. It's still got that noise though, but I don't know what that is.
Is it? Oh, right.
But nobody else can hear it, so it must be me.
Okay. Right. Okay, everyone. Right. Meeting started. Apologies for absence.
None received.
Okay. Now, item 2, which is declarations of pecuniary interest and request for dispensation. Is there anyone? No, I can't see anyone. Okay. Right, item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. Vicky, do I ask for a show of hands on them? And obviously, I can't sign them manually here, but is that sort of allowed as far as this is concerned?
Yeah.
Just a show of hands, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Right, can I have show of hands for them minutes so I can sign them virtually? Yeah, right, thank you. Right, item 4, matters arising from those minutes. Is there any matters arising from anyone? No? Okay, thank you. Right, item 5, members of the public to speak on planning matters other than the applications before the committee. This is other than the applications that are presently before the committee. No?
You'll have to forgive me. I'm not too sure what that means.
Right, that means that obviously we've got how many? 4, 5, 6, is it? Items on the agenda. Well, 7, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So I'm here to just express some concerns with regards to the use of Anne Suckling Way.
Right, then that's the next one. That's,
wonderful, thank you.
That's item 6. So there's anything other than them items that are on the agenda? No? Right, okay. Right, item 6, to consider planning applications to West Suffolk Council. I will invite members of the public who wish to address the committee in relation to a planning application to speak ahead of the committee considering each application in turn. Okay, right, list A, we haven't got any list A. List B, and you'll have to forgive me because this printout that I've done is very small writing. So, but the first one I've got on the agenda is
It's DC.
I haven't got the application number on here.
It's DC20 0614RM, and we were considering 0615RM together.
Right. Okay. Right. Obviously, we've put our. Do you want me to read out like I did last time? What we've written down? Yeah.
Taking members of the public first.
Oh yeah, members of the public. Sorry, I've already said that, haven't I? Right. Both of them together. We'll say if you can. Who would like to speak first? Of the members of the public. Can you put your hand up? Right. I'll go for Andrew first, Councillor. Sorry, Andrew. Sorry, forgive me. Is it Andrew Given?
Gwynevin, yeah.
Gwynevin, sorry. Okay.
Hello. Yeah, just very briefly, my key concerns are with the use of Ansuckling Way. At the moment, it's a private, well, it's a road. It's just services a small community of houses. It's on the plans within both 0615 and 0614. It shows that the road will connect up to Howell Road all the way over to the Arundine, and then further over all the way to Howells Barn Road, which will effectively create a lot of traffic moving across Ansuckling Way. My fear is that, for example, if somebody in the west of Haverhill wanted to get to Samuel Ward School, they would use that route as opposed to travelling quite some way north in order to connect up to the new proposed relief road. And so the sheer volume of traffic, I think, would be really quite exponential. And my other concern is I just don't feel that people really got the chance to really look at these documents and unpick exactly what's going on. Because as you quite rightly you put 0614 and 0615 together, and that's because it's such a massive body of documents that are not very easy to access, and there's no real forum at the moment for people to discuss what's happening because of the COVID situation. Ideally, I'd love to go and maybe the town hall or a school and look at these documents, find out exactly what's proposed and what isn't proposed. So, for example, with Ansuckling Way, my favour would be not to use it to service the thousands and thousands of houses that are there, but if it has to be, to enter into some sort of a dialogue that maybe there be some sort of a traffic calming system, a bollard system or something like that. But at the moment, I don't quite understand how we actually go about voicing these concerns.
Right. Obviously, the best, we've received quite a lot of, or the West Suffolk has received quite a lot of written comments. Obviously, I don't know if you've done that already. I've viewed
how is the best way to do that, please?
Well, Colin, I think Town Clerk, yeah, I'll tell you that better, really.
I have emailed Penny Mills. Was there anything else to do other than that?
Yeah.
If you've emailed the planning officer, and I assume Vicky can confirm Penny is the planning officer for that particular development.
And I think I emailed you to explain to send your comments to Penny Mills.
Thank you. Yes, I did receive that one. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
So in that respect, the other thing you can do is also attend the planning committee at West Suffolk itself, in much the same way as you're doing here, to present your views in person. We always recommend that to people. It is more effective. But other than that, that's really what you can do.
When and where is that? When and where is that, please?
I don't think it's been announced yet, because this is going to be quite a long time for all of, as you said, lots and lots of documents. There will be lots of challenges and no doubt lots of amendments will be done before this eventually reaches the full committee, I would imagine. Councillor Burns is probably the expert on this, and I can see him waving a finger. So, Chairman, I would suggest let Councillor Burns speak on this.
Yeah, I've also got Councillor Mason as well, but I'll invite Councillor Burns to speak first, and then Councillor Mason.
Yeah, as the Town Clerk Colin Paul says, this is a long way off before it gets anywhere near planning at West Suffolk. The planning officer, as you rightly say, is Penny Mills. I spoke to her about 3-4 weeks ago about something completely different, to be honest with you. But we mentioned this, and she said she was waiting for all the plans to come in. But what actually happened was the applications came in. So she hasn't personally had a lot of chance to even look at them themselves. And I know there are some concerns, obviously, about this. Persimmon themselves have actually stated that the both the Howell Road and the Anne Suckling link is for buses only through rising bollards. It's not a through link for traffic. Never was designed that when certainly Councillor Brown and myself were on planning 5 years ago, whenever it was. We never envisaged this. We want a decent bus service throughout that estate and the Great Willsey opposite. That's something we've been fighting for a long time, many, many years, to be honest with you. But we never envisaged that these would be links to the traffic. The traffic will go, as been stated by yourself, up north and ultimately onto the Relief Road, either going west down towards Cambridge or east going up towards Bury or beyond. That's what the developers have said, and that's why I asked for a blow up of their those particular junctions on plans. Yeah. Primarily because I couldn't read them either. You know, when you look at them on an A4 bit of paper, you just can't see what they say. So they have done, but that's what they're saying for pedestrians, cyclists, and buses. Because you obviously
that's reassuring to hear. But the reason why I bring it up is because when I spoke to Penny, she was looking at the plans the same as me, and she agreed with me that on the drawings that are submitted within those two big packages of information, it doesn't have any rising bollards on there at all. So it's just a main connecting through road that links all the way up to Howell Road and beyond to Howellsbarn Road.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I think just to clarify before Councillor Mason comes on, is that this is the problem when you're looking at A4 bits of paper on a drawing that's been designed for an A0 bit of paper. Unfortunately, Penny and other planning officers cannot get in the office at the moment where the A0 printers are. So they are working from home. So in many ways, the applications are, to me anyway, a little bit premature because they haven't really discussed them at all with the officers properly before they became public knowledge. But anyway, that's all I have to say at the moment. Thank you.
Councillor Mason.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to just make clear that I'm speaking as a resident, first and foremost, of the Boyton Hall estate. It's not really a conflict of interest because as part of my role as councillor, I'd like to think that I would represent the interests of the residents. Councillor McManus and I, we canvassed about 25 to 30 properties, and we drew attention to residents about the plans. And there's a number of questions of which I'm more than happy to email the Town Council. But one of the things that I'm looking at tonight is to raise awareness with the Town Council regarding a number of issues and to see if we can garner possibly some support from the Planning Committee, of which there are some members on development and control at district, so that we can at least be all aware of some of the concerns that have been raised by myself and by residents of whom I am speaking on their behalf tonight. Okay, so I'll just go through the list and I'll try and not take too much time. Okay, so what assurances are that the Relief Road will be completed before phase 2 starts? Okay, it's really quite important. As phase 2 gets built, we've got increasing amounts of people, and the Relief Road needs to be constructed and finished. And there is wide opinion across the community that that Relief Road needs to be done sooner rather than later, before we see more developments on the phase 2 site. Now, I've zoomed in on those plans, and as far as I can see, the plans do show a bus link at the top of Howell Road onto that link road between Anne Suckling and Howellsbarn Road. When you look at the plans, there is no bus thoroughfare highlighted on the plans. And my concern would be to get assurances from Persimmon that they are going to stick to what they originally planned and that it would be a bus route access only. Ratting Road is quite a straight, Anne Suckling is quite a straight road until it curls round onto the junction onto Ratting Road. And residents are very concerned about the increased levels of traffic. You know, it is dangerous, and we would certainly be looking at wanting to see some traffic calming measures, of which there's nothing on the plans to suggest how increased throughput of traffic could be managed. And I think because of the amount of stretch of road and the amount of community it will serve, even if it isn't a through road to Hellsbarn Road, phases 3, 4 and 5 will all be linking through onto Anne Suckling Road eventually. And I think we need to see in those plans some suitable traffic calming measures. The allotments are a new addition, and there's been questions raised about parking. Where will the parking be for these allotments? I don't think there's enough detail on the allotment site. One solution would be recessed parking. But the other concern is if these allotments aren't taken up, and we do have vacant allotments in Haverhill, what happens to that community land? As far as I'm concerned, it's a community green space. And we need to have assurances that Persimmon won't put houses onto that green land and that it stays as community land. So I think there's far too little information about the allotments and how what the process is by which decisions will be made regarding the use of that land. There's insufficient evidence that they've done research on the impact of habitat and protected species. Newts have been found on this phase 2 plot. Persimmon have not replaced their hedge from phase 1, and in my opinion have shown disregard for wildlife habitats. It is concerning that there is not a survey identifying the impact on habitats other than the breeding bird survey. I think they've also decided to take out some stretches of hedgerow that could easily have run alongside roads. And a short movement of a road would mean that we wouldn't lose some of the natural habitat that is there and available. And so overall, I would like there to be a closer scrutiny on how they're actually managing the land and looking after the environment. There's concern from the Boyton Hall residents about construction. Will Anne Suckling be used for construction traffic? Now, in the morning, the Anne Suckling Road is a busy road, as it is at the end of the day, and it would be very easy for Persimmon to use Anne Suckling for main arterial road for construction traffic. I certainly would like to see the route that they've already got into Boyton Place being used for construction traffic, and there's nothing to indicate in the plans about how they want to access this site, and we don't want that from the Anne Suckling Road. Insufficient details regarding cycle routes and how they intersect with Anne Suckling Road. Now, it's not at a junction with Ratting Road that is the problem, where they've dropped the curb, where visibility is good, but along some of the boundary areas where there is paths and cycle paths, there's nothing to suggest that there will be any measure to prevent children, for example, just cycling straight out onto Anne Suckling. And I think there is insufficient evidence regarding cycle paths and the hardware that will be put in place to make sure that those paths are safe. If you think about the railway track, the opposite ends of the railway track, there are structures where cyclists have to navigate just to ensure that they slow down as they approach Howe Road. So there's nothing on the plans regarding that. And then finally, the original plans in the master plan indicated for that phase 2 plot of land that there'll be no houses or buildings or structures higher than 3.5 stories. Nowhere in Haverhill is there precedent for a residential building which is in excess of 4 stories, because of course it is what they have planned is 4 stories plus a roof. So it doesn't really matter whether it's 4 or 4.5. It is significantly higher than what they'd originally planned. And I'm looking at that plot of land, and there's planning 168 dwellings. And it looks to me that they're over populating that particular stretch of land. And because of its close proximity to Anne Suckling, there are questions about actually, because it would be easier to access onto Ratting Road, that residents of those flats would actually park on Anne Suckling Road, because they would be able to get out onto Ratting Road so much more easily. The four-storey building is inappropriate and universally, and it's not about not in my backyard. There's no NIMBYism going on there. There is no precedent in Haverhill for a 4-storey or 4.5-storey building in effect. And but to a man, it wouldn't be appropriate. And in fact, there's bungalows planned in relatively close proximity to these structures. And the mismatch with those particularly large buildings are problematic. And there are other properties on the Boyton Hall estate at the bottom of Anne Suckling Road which are significantly lower and would be dominated by these large monstrosities that Persimmon have suddenly put in the plans when previously there was no mention of them. So Council, one of the things that I'm looking for is an awareness that residents are really quite unhappy. I've not mentioned ditches and the poor maintenance that Persimmon have done on the ditches. There was an incident where someone got stuck in the ditch, and there are big questions about the ownership of those ditches to make sure that the runoff of water from higher land is still properly managed. So what I'm looking for from the council is awareness of the issues, that residents from the Boyton Hall estate are most unhappy with the plans as they are, and that we're looking for significant changes. As such, I've requested to Penny Mills that it's referred to a review panel with a view to it being then passed to development and control. Thank you.
Right, thank you for that, Councillor Mason. Just before I come to Councillor Stitchcombe, speed humps or whatever it is, speed controls, humps are a problem if they're near residents, and raised humps as well, because they make a lot of noise and vibration. So I think there are other sort of traffic calming measures that can be done, but just be careful with the speed humps, because they do create a lot of vibration to residents that live nearby. Right, Councillor Stitchcombe. I think you have to press your space bar. That's it.
No, it's more complicated. Spacebar doesn't seem to work with my version of Zoom. I seem to have got myself permanently muted just then. Coming back to the bus gate issue, perhaps Councillor Burns can tell us a bit more about this, but yes, Councillor Mason is right that the bus gate is definitely shown at the northern end of Howe Road, but that nothing corresponding shown on Anne Suckling. But I'd rather got the impression from Mayor Burns that, you know, there would need to be one at the other end. You know, there's no point in just having one without the other. Otherwise, it is a rat run, isn't it? And I think if it is difficult to see, but I did zoom in and zoom in and zoom in on the PDF of the roads engineering layout. I can't remember whether it was the red line version or the non-red line version or both. But if you zoom in far enough, there's a row of little cells on the eastern side of the allotments, which if you zoom in far enough say P in the corner of each of them. So I take that to be parking spaces. So there is provision for parking, but not an access road to get to the parking. So Councillor Mason's quite right that it's all a bit weird and wonderful, but there is parking shown, rudimentary.
Okay, Andrew, do you want to come back on? So I can't see any other councillors want to say anything. Do you want to come back on that?
Chair,
Sorry,
I think Mrs. Strachan would like to speak.
Yes.
I don't think you can see them waving at all.
Yeah, can I just say thank you to John Mason for summing up some of our frustrations. I think I've actually gone around trying to put notes through doors, and I've got quite a shock when I got the letters and seemed to see that this was a through road on Suckling Road, apart from other things as well. I have submitted, I thought I'd submitted some comments and things, but I'm not sure whether you've actually received it, because I'd like to check that with Vicky. Actually, I've tried several ways now. I don't know. But I think that Joe sums it up, and I've also, in the notes that I sent, felt that under lockdown it was incredibly difficult. I thought we were further on in the process than apparently we may be, but that we need to have residents' meetings, and we need to be talking to people properly about how to enrich this area and make it a good place anyway. So I have got concerns about the road. I don't think it's acceptable just to have a through road. It's a very dangerous road at the end, made worse by poor buildings they've had the person put there, and narrowed the road. And you know, they're walking, they come straight out of their houses onto a curved road with a camber that is dangerous. So there's all kinds of issues with that as it is. It shouldn't have happened like that. So I'm concerned about that level of quality of planning and building. I think it's really spoiled our road, and I think they could have built without doing it like that. So I'm very concerned that quality is there, and is that going to be reflected in the rest of the estate? So the road is one big issue. The 4-storey building is obviously another issue. The allotments, I'll be a lucky person, I've got the allotments opposite me, but when I look at it, it's so unimaginative, the whole landscaping of that. It's kind of, a 2-year-old could have done it. Rectangles plonked down. There doesn't seem to be a green corridor. There doesn't seem to be any tree areas. You know, we should be able to have a feeling of walking through a bit of a woodland or a bit of a whatever. And I noticed other comments people have made to you, they're talking about what happened to the green corridor. That's not a green corridor, and it's not being planned with any imagination whatsoever. It also backs almost straight onto the road with any soft planning from what I can see. The other thing is the landscaping generally. There isn't any, is there really? Unless they're going to do it in much more detail. The whole area is just a tree clump there and a tree clump there. And if you look at the first phase that backs onto the front road, going to Ratting, that is just, it's so unimaginative, and they've missed the opportunity of actually putting some, you know, lovely trees there, planting it well. There's a strip of grass with a few trees planted on there. That's not helping with pollution. It's not helping with noise pollution or air filtration for those houses or anything. And that's a standard of what they've done on that estate. So I think they really need to look at how they landscape as well. You know, we've got some good examples in Haverhill, and our town council's worked hard to try and improve things. So I think that needs to be looked at. I think, as John Mason said, it needs to be all reviewed, the whole process really. And I'm not sure why I've just come to this stage to realise where we are. I think it's been very confusing. When I've talked to neighbours about where they think they were, they've been told there was going to be buses with bollards, they've been told this, they've talked to different people, and it's just incredibly confusing. And somehow we need to have us, you know, more time to look at it. But I gather we're not quite as far along the process than perhaps I thought we were. I'm not sure about that really, but you know, what I'm hoping is there's still a lot of time to sort this out. But thank you. I'll stop now. I've talked for a long time. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I wasn't sort of ignoring you. I was just going to give Andrew a chance to come back, and then I would have come to you. I'll go to Andrew first, and then if you do want to come back on maybe what Andrew said, then I'll come back. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Right. Andrew?
Thank you. No, I think it's all been covered for me. It's really reassuring to hear that hopefully we are in earlier stages than we thought, although I'm a little bit sceptical about that because it all seems quite advanced. And I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one that feels like it's almost like an information bomb with these big packages, that things can be overlooked. And again, in this time, it's difficult to actually go through this information. So I'm just pleased to hear that I'm not the only one that's thinking the same things. And so thank you all for that.
Thank you. Do you want to come back? And then I'll come to you, Councillor Burns.
If I can just briefly,
yeah?
Certainly. If I could just briefly check either with Vicky, or maybe I need to do it tomorrow, check where my comments went, because it was sent on Friday and it doesn't seem to arrive, but there's a technical matter, so I can go back to that. But I just feel that, you know, really we need to look at landscaping, we need to look at the road, and we need to look at the four-bedroom story. Oh, you have got it. I'm sorry that
I put your comments here, and I do think they're actually on the portal as well.
Oh, thank you very much.
But
Thank you for help with that.
All the comments that we'd received tonight, and all but one were on the portal.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So,
thank you for
yeah, that they have gone through. So I think they're just a bit slow at putting them up. But most people's are on there, apart from a couple, but they're all saying very much the same that's being said already tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Can I just say to the both of you that I think it's best to sort of keep in touch with Councillor Mason, because he'll know before. Well, he'll know as much as the councillors that are on the borough council, especially the planning, when the planning meeting is due, whether it be like it is now on Zoom, or I don't think they do Zoom actually on the council, but as I say, he will sort of keep you informed on when this is due, and I think it will take quite a few months before it comes up. Councillor Burns.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, you've just got to remember, of course, we had the bank holiday as well, by the way, for documents, and people are working from home, so it doesn't necessarily, and there's quite a few people off. I think it's worthwhile, and I think Joe Mason alluded to this, the original outline planning permission, which basically defines what's going to go on this site, including the density of the housing, was done 11 years ago in 2009. And prior to that, there was a master plan as well. And the site has actually been in the town plan for over 40 years in one way or another, which, as has been mentioned, originally, Anne Suckling Way was going to be the bypass. That was the original thing many, many years ago. In terms of the Relief Road, and I must stop calling it bypass, the Relief Road, I had an email this afternoon from Persimmon, which didn't give very much information, but the Relief Road is part of what's called the S106 arrangement, which basically says that within 5 years of the first spading ground, i.e. the first phase 1 over on the eastern side by Great Baton, within 5 years that road has to be built. And if Persimmon fail to do it, there is actually an insurance bond in place that allows Suffolk County Council to take it over and build it themselves. But what's happened at the moment, the latest data I've got is what's called the discharge of conditions for the final phase of the road has now been submitted to West Suffolk Council. So what happens now is people like Penny Mills will sit down and look at those proposed discharge conditions. Those discharge conditions will be things like the drainage of the road, the layout of it, landscaping has been mentioned, all that sort of stuff. But it's the intention of Persimmon to construct the road in one go. They don't have to. They could just do it in phases if they wanted to, but they intend to do it one go, all the way from Ratting Road, all the way down to House Barn Road, the roundabout at the bottom of House Barn Road, or top of House Barn Road, as you look at it now. And normally, you know, to give them the due of all the other things that have happened, as mentioned about hedgerows and all this sort of stuff, they do come to the town council normally and tell us all about what they're planning to do. Unfortunately, COVID has put paid to that. So that's a little update on the Relief Road. No guarantee it'll be done before the thing, but that's the legal thing, is that they have to do it within 5 years. But the delay so far, because they had planned to start this in February, the delay has actually been Suffolk County Council approving all the plans. That has been the delay. So the next thing, they're waiting for what's it called, Open Reach, to divert some cabling that's underneath that new roundabout opposite the Fox Pub, so they can complete that roundabout. And then that obviously is the new Relief Road as it's going to go on. And we're all looking forward to that. We've been looking forward for many, many years. Again, it was on the original Gibbard plan of 1972. to get all the traffic away from Ratting Road and Withersfield Road and move onto that new relief road. The other thing that was mentioned by Councillor Mason was the allotments, as if they were something new, but they're not. They've been around ever since year dot in that same location. I understand about the parking, of course I do, but that was always it. And there was a mention about the there's not an oversupply. There's actually an undersupply of allotments in town that people can use. The ones in Manor Road, for example, there's a waiting list down there. So we're very keen, as well as possible, to get allotments in town, because it should be the way of people cooking, and not cooking, growing their own food and everything. So we're very pleased with that. But everyone's dead right. It needs to be right. This is the first, it's the application. They've come in with this. I don't like the building heights particularly, although the density of the housing is exactly what they was as part of the outline planning permission. So I think what you've got to do is make sure all the comments that go on the portal are what's called materialistic. As Joe mentioned earlier on, it's not NIMBYism. Genuine stuff, and get it right, because people are going to have to live here for many years, once we've all been off this mortal earth. I am on the planning committee. It will eventually, it's a major development, so it will come to committee at some point in the future. Don't know why there were two applications, one for infrastructure and one not, because they're both, I don't know who mentioned it earlier on, they're both intrinsically linked together. We had the same problem on the other side of the road on the Great Wheelsey over where I live. There's separate applications keep coming in, and you've really got to look at each one and decide how each one affects them. But legally, you have to look at them as separate applications, which is unfortunate. So that's just a little background on the relief road. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Councillor Crooks.
Oh, thank you, Chair. On the allotments, I believe the access is from Anne Suckling Road. So I think that's quite clear. So there's no dispute over where the access is to the allotments. It's from Anne Suckling Road. As for bus gates, I think as a council, we should support the bus gates as long as they're at Hell Road and Anne Suckling Road. That's very important that we link the new residents to the town, and we should support public transport for that. The development of the roads is crucial at what phases they're going to do them, because we could be in a position where they want to use Anne Suckling Road for traffic before they have built the relief road. So that is something we've got to watch out for, that they don't use Anne Suckling for the residents on that phase of the development. So that is something we've got to look out for. Four-storey, completely unacceptable. 3.5, I think we might be able to get away with, but 4 stories, way too big. And the other concern is drainage. I noticed the resident mentioned drainage as well. I think Anglian Water have objected. So, because there are ditches running across the site, so that also needs looking at. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Councillor Greeny.
Yeah, just wanted to come in on the back of the busgate comments. Can we just make sure that we kind of define what a busgate is? Normally in cities, busgate is as simple as writing on the road, busgate. We need to make sure they are rising bollards, otherwise it's not going to be effective.
Good point. Is there any other?
So just one thing I forgot to mention is there are 2 effective roads for phase 2. One is the relief road itself that goes all the way around to House Barn, and then there's also the feeder road for the traffic to come into phase 1 and 2, to be honest with you, which comes off this new roundabout that's nearly built. And the idea was, they told us a while back, is they want that roundabout to be built so they can get their construction traffic into phase 1 and phase 2. Not to bring it, if the relief road was built, even better. but their plan is not to use ever Anne Suckling Way, Anne Suckling Road, sorry. I must stop calling it Way, that's what they keep calling it, as some sort of construction route for anything. That was never the plan, as they told us at a meeting at the Town Council not that long ago. Thank you.
Okay. Right. As far as the flats is concerned, as I say, on one plan, the flats are on the north side of it, and on the latest plans, they're near Anne Suckling Road. So they have been swapped about by someone, I don't know who, which is, they were completely across the road, across the other side of the road that's going to be built at one time on the south side, north side, sorry. And now they put them, the latest ones on the north side near Anne Suckling Road. So I don't know what happened there. Right, should we go on the do you want me to read out the comments that's been put by us councillors already? Do you want me to read them out? Yeah? Right, I think members of the public do. Right, Councillor Brown has put, because I'm going to read these both together, he's put neutral but would support Jason's, which is Jason Crooks, Councillor Crooks, comments, reference landscaping and hedgerows. So that's been mentioned. The next one he's objected, 4-storey houses will stick out like a sore thumb. 3.5-storey buildings were originally proposed. What height will be the 4-storey houses to be compared to the 3.5-storey, question mark, to the apex of the roof? And Councillor Crooks has put neutral on the first one, welcome the addition of bus gates, Howell Road and Anne Suckling Road, which he's already said. We'll certainly don't want our new residents to feel cut off from the town. Landscaping is essential to retain as much of the current hedgerows as possible. The main hedgerow is staying, although there will be breaks created for the roads. And the next one is objected. 4-storey building is out of keeping with the surrounding area, plus the design is oppressive as well, so he objected to the design as well. I've put the first one neutral. I've put a comment, roads, engineering layout. School has, that's the actual bit that I'm referring to, school, the engineering layout. School has a one-way and lay-by for buses drop off. Can there be one for cars, as it is a primary school? Because there's a lot of problems we've got on Chalkston Way with the primary schools as far as dropping people off. But if they had a system similar to Samuel Wall, then it would be much better. And the next one I object. Planning layout on parking spaces for houses, numbers 91 and 92. Parking, that they put their parking places in with the flats, which would be too far for those people to walk, to go to, which is quite a distance from where they live. And there's stacking as well. In other words, they have to park their car. There's 2 parking spaces and they have to park their car behind each other. And 3 on that is electric chargers needed as some distance away from the houses. Number 4, why not put parking at the front of the houses like at number 93? So number 92 and 91 and 92 away from the house, and yet 93 is in front of the house. Numbers 94 and 95 are the same, stacking, reversing into the major access road. Electric charge is needed at some distance away from the houses. why not put parking in front of the houses as well? That's with 94 and 95. Numbers 43 and 168, parking spaces too far away from the houses. Again, electric charges needed. Numbers 4, 8 and 44 and 45 have to park the other side of the private drives. Electric charges wanted with dimensions. What dimensions are the parking spaces? Because we found with the ones that have already been built, the parking spaces are much too small. I've seen cars actually where they big cars, they've actually stuck out onto the driveway, onto the walkway. And do they conform to size standards as far as the parking space is concerned? David, I don't know if David wants to come in on what Councillor Roach, I don't know if you want to say anything on them two items.
David Roach.
Sorry, Councillor. Sorry.
I didn't make any comments because I wanted, I wanted to hear what any possible residents may have to say, and it's been interesting to hear what Councillor Mason said as well. I did have concerns over the 4-storey buildings and various other things, and also I think the mix of affordable housing doesn't seem to be quite right. But it was very interesting to hear what the people have been saying, and it's clear that there is obviously a lot of objections to this, and understandably so. But having heard all that, I think my response would be to object to this application for these very points. Thank you.
Can I just
Councillor Liz Smith?
Yeah. Can I just add to that? I think, although some of us may have thought neutral beforehand, I think after listening to the residents' concerns, I think we should object. So I agree with Councillor David Smith on that.
Yeah, we was neutral as far as we're concerned on the first application, but there's quite a lot of objections on the other application.
Yeah, to split them up. Yeah, neutral on the first one because there's not really much to object to, but definitely object on the second point.
Councillor Lucrini?
Are we able to get a summary of points that were said today, Vicky?
Can't hear you, Vicky.
You want to sum up now?
Well, I just want to finish. I've only got Councillor Stitchkin's one. I'll read that out and then perhaps you can sum up then. Is that okay, Councillor Lucrini?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Crooks, you want to say something? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Just quickly regarding the 4 stories, I don't know anywhere on the housing estates in Haverhill that we've got 4 stories, because when you look at the large ones on Chapelwent Road, they're 3 stories, and when you look at Appleacre Road up behind Sainsbury's, the large ones there, they're also 3 stories. So we just haven't got 4-story houses on estates in Haverhill. Thank you, Chair.
What about that one that's up top of Cants Road that they was building? Are they 3-story, Councillor Burns?
I looked on the other, the Anglian Place you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're 3-story, 3 plus roof, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I'll just read Councillor Stitchkin's one out first. First one, you put neutral. Clarification needed for points raised about Little Latin, which is the Ramblers comment. What happened to the underpass previously envisaged, where the relief road crosses the FIP? I don't know what that. Can you translate that, Councillor Stitchkin? Is that FP?
It's footpath.
Oh, footpath, right. Okay. Yeah, see, I must apologise because these are very tiny little wording that comes out on my printer. Right, what happened? Yeah, what the boat, BOAT, black hatching.
That's byway open to all traffic. So it's like a jumbo footpath that you can take your four-wheel drive down if should you feel inspired.
Right, it's terminating south of the relief road. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll have to forgive me because I'm not very good at abbreviations. Right. With a zigzag footpath to the refuge crossing of the relief road. What's that mean? Can you sort of enlighten us on that?
Well, this is just my reading of the plan. When you zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, it's not actually labelled, but it appears that there is some kind of traffic division street furniture in the middle of the relief road, just to the west of the roundabout, and it looks like there's a refuge in that. So you cross the road, you pause in the refuge, jump or die, as my dad would have said, and you eventually cross the road. But ramblers have very long memories, and Phil Prigg has flagged up the point that he recollects, and he's got the emails going back to quite a few years back, where he pointed out that yes, he agreed that to have an underpass there would be a damn good thing. I mean, at the moment we only seem to have where the footpath could intersect with the relief road, but unless someone is closing the byway to all traffic and it's going to be restricted to just pedestrian traffic, does anyone know anything about the history of this? Has that effectively been closed as a byway and it is being restricted to just a footpath? It all needs clarifying and looking into.
Okay, Councillor Crooks.
When they built the original bypass, what we got in Haverhill, that went through footpaths, and the footpaths are still there. It's just that people, the pedestrians, the walkers, just have to look left and right before they cross the road.
Okay. We need to see a comment from Suffolk County Council on that. You've got you've got B. What alternative routes will the developer provide during temporary closures? I think Councillor Burns has. Oh, he's put his hand up. He might come in now. Councillor Burns.
Yeah, so going on about what Alan's talking about, I'm wondering whether that is actually in the original 2009 application, which was actually for the detail of the relief road itself. I was trying to find the number of it. I think it's 1683, if I vaguely remember. And that's all to do with what they're doing now, all these latest plans. So I don't know how they're going to deal with that, because that was designed, as I said, 11 years ago, and all these discharge conditions. But I know for a fact, whilst they've been doing what they call it, land surveying work and everything, that they found that they couldn't actually put the road exactly where they wanted it to go. Now, I know in terms of the ramblers, footpaths, all that sort of stuff, there are plans to divert some of those. And I know temporarily they're talking about it at the moment. Whether they'll become permanent or not is another matter. It's quite a complicated thing to do, to divert a footpath. But I haven't seen any other plans other than those original 2009 plans for the relief road, and that would certainly include any underpasses, and also things like, I don't know, if there are badgers or anything else like that up there, that sort of thing. So I have no idea. Sorry.
Okay. Boynton Woods claims the green space to north of Anne Suckling Road and of previously proposed Anne Suckling Way Park, has been reduced. Can you sort of enlighten us on that? Whereabouts this park is, or?
I think the commenter, the address to Boyton Woods, said that there was originally some kind of north-south corridor, green corridor running up, and there was going to be a new road called Ansuckling Way, which we don't seem to have on the plans now, or maybe I've missed it. And so there was going to be a strip of road with park either side of it or adjacent to it in some way, and their comment was that that was being reduced. I haven't been able to, in the limited time I've had available over the last couple of days, I haven't been able to research that and confirm or deny that, but it just, as many people have said, there just seem to be an awful lot of loose ends, things that aren't tied together here.
Thank you for that. Residency allotment site as possible Trojan horse for more housing. Yeah, that's been mentioned. Unsegregated. There was various residents' comments about there's only a 2-metre wide cycleway, and if pedestrians are meant to be sharing that, which presumably they are, is that wide enough? And you can paint, if you've got a wide enough path in the first place, you can attempt to paint a segregation line, pedestrians one side and cyclists the other. But this can only be unsegregated if it's only 2 metres wide. And I think this has come up in discussing footpaths in another planning application, where we said, well, actually, if you look at the government guidance, I've given the hyperlink to it there, it recommends 3 metres as the it's not saying it's an absolute minimum, but it's the preferred minimum effective width. So it's no good if you've got a fence or trees either side. You've got to have clear space either side, and then you can just about get away with 3 metres on the ground. Thank you for that. Right, your next one is object. Agree that 4-storey buildings are not appropriate unless they are below surrounding housing.
Yeah, I think someone commented, didn't they, in correspondence, that if you put your short buildings up the hill and your tall buildings down the bottom, no one's grossly overshadowing anyone else. But I don't know the lie of the land well enough to say, well, if you've got to have 4 stories, and we are under pressure to increase the density of development all over the country at the moment, aren't we? If you really have to have 4-storey buildings, I'm not sure where the ideal place to put them would be, but in a dip would be better than on the top of a hill, wouldn't it?
Yeah, which is right. Okay. Agree we need complete availability of EV charging points.
Electric vehicle. No, I'm agreeing with your point, Chair.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Agree with strategic housing. Objections concerning affordable housing. A, inappropriate mix of dwelling types. That's true. I think that was mentioned. I think that was mentioned by
Councillor Smith.
Mason, wasn't it? About the having bungalows next to big story, 4-storey flats. Okay, yeah, right. And inclusion of this is very important actually. Inclusion of studies with some 1-bedroom flats, as these are treated as bedrooms for local housing allowance purposes. 2-bed flats should be 2-bedroom, i.e. 4 person. A minimum of 70 square meters in line with the NDS standards, and on the ground floor, otherwise they do not meet the needs of families. and so do not meet the housing needs of Haverhill. And D, 28 plots do not meet NCS standards. And E, lack of reasonable expectation of transfer to a regional provider. Oh, sorry, a registered provider. These are, oh, I suppose you can't see it, but wording is very tiny.
Well done, Chair.
Right.
So I haven't said anything new there. All I'm saying is that's all logged in Strategic Housing's objections, but I utterly agree with all of everything that Strategic Housing has said. The mix is wrong. You know, like we need bungalows that are wheelchair accessible. Well, they've got bungalows in there, but they're not wheelchair accessible, for example. You know, they just don't have the right mix of property sizes to meet what Strategic Housing believe to be our actual housing need.
Yes, and I think we've got to be very hot because their size of room standards are not that great that they've built so far. We have to be very hot in trying to get the at least minimum size room standards. The problem is I don't think the borough has adopted them at the moment. Councillor David Smith?
Can we just go to the vote there, because this is dragging on a bit. I think we're all repeating ourselves here. Is this necessary to keep reading out all these comments?
Yeah, I've finished now. I might
thank you.
read now. So
I propose that we object on any grounds you can find.
Yeah, I don't think. I think we've got. You know, everyone's heard, and Vicky is written them all down. Plus, she's got them on the sheets that I've just read out. So I think it's. You've got anything to say on that, Vicky, at all? Before I go to the vote. Can't hear you. Can't hear you, Vicky.
Unless you want to add anything else, I've basically got objecting to that application. I can read everything back, but we've just pretty much heard it all. So
yeah, I don't think you need to, Vicky, because it'll all be written down and it'll go on the portal and people can read it.
Yeah.
If they've got anything, or if we've got anything that we sort of what we said was wrong, then perhaps we can correct it then while it's on the portal. Right, okay. I've had a proposal from Councillor David Smith that we object on all them grounds that's been said.
So is that 2615?
I'll say for both of them, I would say.
To both of them.
Councillor Stitchcombe, you second that, or you want to say something? You're muted. You need to unmute.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I thought we were more open to the idea of being neutral on the first application, and I know both Councillors Smith have tried to push us in the direction of objecting to the first one, but I think with clarity, I would be perfectly happy to accept the first application, but I've got severe problems with the second one, with the housing.
Councillor Smith, it is correct as far as we as councillors is concerned. We've all put neutral on that, on the first one. It's mainly the second one we've all objected to.
Yeah, but there were some concerns about the first one as well, I believe, unless I was mistaken. Which, as far as I'm concerned, if there's any concerns at all, then it should be an object.
No, most of what I've got here is comments as far as neutral is concerned.
I thought it was from members of the public that objected to both. That's what my impression was. I may be wrong.
Right.
But, that's what I believed.
Nice.
Right, okay, right. Right, a lot of people putting their hands up. Councillor Crooks first, and then I'll come to Mr. and Mrs. Strachan.
Yeah, I'm happy to go the same as Councillor Smith. Object on the first one until we've got clarity. So I'm happy to object until we've got the clarity we deserve. Thank you.
Okay, right. Mr. and Mrs. Strachan, yeah? Unmute, please.
Oh, sorry.
Right, okay.
I'm confused about what you're objecting to there. The first one, I believe, is the road and things. Is that correct? To do with the road and the structure?
Is that correct? Yeah, I think that's correct, what you said.
Because
yeah.
I think there's been, if you look at this estate, huge objections. If we need to have it clarified before.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure what that means if we say neutral or not, but neutral suggests to me that it sounds okay. So I don't know. I'm not au fait with how you talk in the council meetings, but my concern is that we're absolutely sure on this estate, and we'd be out there in arms unless something is done to make sure that is done well.
Yeah, I think Councillor Brooks has mentioned that there's a lot of clarification that we need on the first one,
absolutely.
And that's why we're going to object to it, because we want the clarifications on the ones that we mentioned, we commented on. Yeah. Neutral is sort of we're okay with it, but you know, we haven't got any objections really. We just want to put comments, and that's what that neutral means. We've got a proposer and a seconder now for objection to both of them. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Can I have a vote on that, please?
Who was the seconder?
Sorry, Councillor Crooks. Oh, did you? Sorry, Councillor Crooks. Did you want to second that? You don't. Yes, you do. Right. Okay. Yeah, Councillor Crooks. Right. All those in favour of objecting to both of these? Yeah. Yeah. No, you can't vote, I'm afraid, the members of the public. But that's everyone. Okay. Thank you very much. Right, thank you. The members of the public, if you want to sit through the other applications, we've got a few here, you can, or you can leave. Right, I'll see the shaking of the head. Thank you very much for attending. It's been really good for your information from you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Right,
yeah, thank you all very much indeed. Bye-bye.
Right, thank you. Bye-bye. Right, the next one is 24 Sandpiper Close. We've also put neutral on that, which is widening of the existing drop curve. Everyone okay with that? All neutral? Yep. Yep, I can't see any hands up. Right, okay. The next one is 440 Hamlet Road. Single-storey rear and side extension following the demolition of outbuilding. There's one objection from Councillor Crooks for design, and Aaron Lucrini has put not in keeping with the area. He objects as well. Do you want to comment on that, Councillor Lucrini or Councillor Crooks? Any comments? No? Yeah, Councillor Crooks?
I believe it's not. It's a bit fine line because I believe it's going to be black weatherboarding, so black weatherboarding won't look too bad. But I don't feel it sits well with the next property up Croft Lane. It just doesn't sit right with me. So I would hold my objection. Yeah, I believe we should object. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Green, you got anything to say on that? Not in keeping with the area? Do you want anything to add to that?
Not a lot more to add, really. I kind of worry that in a few years' time it starts to look tired, and how long is it going to last?
Yeah, is it what sort of boarding is it? Wooden? Is it wooden, or is it a UPVC, or what? Does anyone know?
Very large extension, isn't it? You know, he's getting rid of an old garage and some outbuildings, and he's creating a very large flat roof extension, and it just doesn't sit well.
Right, is there any other person that wants to speak on this? No? Right, do you want to put a proposal forward, anyone, on this one? Councillor Crooks, you want to put a proposal?
Well, I'll put forward then that that we object to this application based on it not fitting in with the existing area. Yeah.
What about you, Councillor Crooks?
Yeah, I'll second that. Thank you.
Right, all those in favour of objection, please show. All those against? Oh, that's 4 against, isn't it? Well, I'm going to go for objection as the extra vote that I've got. Okay. Right. The next one is land adjacent to the business park at Bumpstead Road. These are reserved matters. Appearance, landscaping, layout and scale. The developments of units 1, 2 and 3. For class B2 and B8. Application of discharge condition 6, surface water drainage. 7, HGV traffic movement and deliveries, management plan. 8, loading, manoeuvring, parking. 10, soft landscaping. 13, landscaping management plan. 17, contamination, and 21, SUDS. And Tony's put neutral, concerned at the lack of consultation with nearby residents and town council at the early stages of this proposal, or these proposals, I should say. There are considerable differences as to what was proposed initially in the outline planning. Everyone else is neutral or not got any comment at all. Right, anyone want to speak on this? Councillor Burns?
Yeah, very quickly. I think we've got to understand the nearby residents' problems with, particularly with noise, the increased number of vehicles that are going to be now parking there. We haven't had a new transport management plan at all. We all see the size of the building that's going up now, and the new proposed building is another 2 meters higher than this. Like the previous application, I do object strongly to plans that don't have measurements on them. You know, putting a scale on something and it says, oh, it's this scale at A0 is totally worthless to anybody who doesn't have a decent architectural background. So I think, you know, how you handle it obviously is up to you guys, but I think the fact these buildings were all turned around against the master plan in the first place was pretty bad news. It's obviously a hell of a lot higher. It's probably a best part of 7 or 8 meters higher, the actual land, than it was planned to be anyway. And the buildings themselves are nowhere like what they were going to be on the original master plan. Having said that, the noise survey they did was only nearby the site, wasn't on the other side of the valley. And I can hear Kalina quite happily up here. They woke me up the other morning at 6 o'clock in the morning with their lorries. Ever since that, of course, that's because the land has now been flattened out. I think what Tony mentioned about lack of consultation, I really, if it was the previous owners, they would have been consulting with the neighbours like they did. These ones don't seem to have bothered. They seem to be some isolated group that don't really want to engage with local residents or even the town council for that matter, or even local members. So that's my personal view anyway. Thank you.
Yeah, I've noticed that on there that they've put extra parking spaces, haven't they? Councillor Brown, do you want to sort of come in and sort of anything to add?
I'm really torn on this one because I really welcome the jobs. It is the industrial estate, but I'm just absolutely, upset for the residents there that we just did not have that consultation, and the buildings were turned around arbitrarily. There's loads of stuff, but I just cannot, bring myself to object to it because it's jobs. It's that plot 1 is quite away from those houses. It's a really difficult one for me, to be fair. I totally welcome the jobs, but I just don't like the way that potentially things have been done. The process, if you see what I mean.
Okay.
That's all I can really say on it. Really, I'm not going to object to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Can I have a proposer then for neutral or whatever, of whatever proposal you want? Councillor Stinchcombe, are you proposing a neutral?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute again.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm proposing neutral, but I mean, it would be reasonable to. Is there a comment that we can reasonably put alongside that about consultation? I mean, that's just a message back to the developer, isn't it? I don't see. Is there any point in trying to speak to the developer through our comment?
Vicky, can you come in on that, or
John's waving.
Sorry, Vicky, yeah.
Councillor Burns is waving.
Sorry, you could put what you like on a comment. Obviously only materialistic comments take account. But one thing I would emphasise, which the planning office has failed to do on the previous application, is to put a construction management plan in the decision notice. So the developers are now able to work 24/7 anytime they like, which was scandalous as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they're not necessarily doing it, but they could do if they wanted to. So I think on this one, I think that needs to be emphasised strongly, that it needs to be included.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree that we put that in.
Councillor Brown?
Yeah, cheers, Chair. It may be worthwhile just then saying that as well, we would like the developers to mitigate noise, sound, and disturbance to the nearby residents as much as they can in their plans, and to try and fully consult with them on the further stages going forward. Just like to propose that we say that. Thank you.
Councillor David Smith?
Yeah, can I just have a bit of clarification on what we're discussing here, because it's just the layout of the road, isn't it? The yards, okay. It's not the actual building themselves. Are the buildings already going up now? Because if they're the ones that are going up now, I'm just astounded at how big they actually are. Is it the building, or is it the actual layout of the parking areas and the road, the transport movements?
Councillor Burns?
Building 1, which is the one that's gone up at the moment, has got full planning permission. That's what they're doing at the moment. This is for buildings units 2. What's the one over the? Not building 1. Sorry, building. What's the one at the left-hand side? Or as you look at it, it's 8 is it? Sorry, building 8 has got planning permission. Sorry. Well, the whole site's got permission, but this is effectively a variation because they want another 2 meters higher on building 1, which is the one over the back there, as Tony mentioned. And completely different reason. So a hell of a lot more parking than was ever envisaged under the original reserve matters application that you and I did a few months back. That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Councillor, Colin, sorry, Colin.
Say in terms of the question about whether you can add in comments, as the Mayor said, yes, of course. But it sounds like, apart from being neutral, there are some planning conditions that you might want to have seen to cover the construction period. And you could suggest some planning conditions you think should be there, certainly in terms of times of operation, but also potentially that a condition should be that they establish a community reference group to include residents, etc., to report back on any nuisances caused during the construction so that they can react to it. And any other planning conditions affecting the construction phase.
So do you mean we because of the planning conditions that we shouldn't have neutral, we should have sort of object, or?
No, the planning conditions cover things that are not material to the actual planning application. So nothing in the construction phase is material to the planning. The planning is all about the finished article, but the construction phase, if that is likely to cause a nuisance, that is covered by planning conditions being set. And it's absolutely well within the purview of the parish council, the town council, to suggest some planning conditions. And it's quite often those planning conditions that reflect residents' concern over dust, over noise, over traffic movements, etc. So that's maybe a way ahead. It doesn't change from being neutral. So it doesn't undermine the fact you want the employment there, but there are ways and means of achieving the construction that cause less nuisance than others.
Okay, thanks for that, Colin. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, cheers, Chair. Yeah, just for information, I have called this in to Development Control for a full committee meeting, just to give the residents more of a chance to have a say, and for the full District Development Control Committee to look at this and put their comments on as well. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Right, have you got that, Vicky? The comments, yeah? Okay. Right, can I propose then? We have neutral with them comments. Councillor Liz Smith, and seconded by Councillor Alan Stinchcombe. And can I have the vote? All those in favour, please? Yeah, that's everyone. Thank you very much. And next one is single story rear extension, amended vehicular access, crossover and boundary changes. This is 8 Arundine Road, and we're all neutral on this. Any comments at all? No? Right, can I propose that we're neutral? Councillor Davison, another seconder. Councillor Brown is the first person I saw. All those in favour, please show. Yeah, that's everyone. Thank you. The next one is front porch, 2 roof lights to front, 1 rear dormer window. This is for 76 Withersfield Road, and we're all neutral again. All those that put comment on. Is there any comments at all? No. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Liz Smith, seconded by Councillor David Smith. All those in favour, please show. Yep, that's everyone. Thank you. And last but not least, one dwelling following demolition of existing garage. This is plot adjacent to 7 Justine Close. Neutral is Councillor Brown. Neutral is Councillor Crooks. I put neutral comments in the design and access statement. It states on 4, the proposal, provision of private off-street parking for both dwellings. 2 spaces per dwelling, but in the proposal, the proposed ground floor plan, it shows 5 cars. Do the bungalow room size, and I've also put, do the bungalow room sizes conform to recommended size standards? Councillor Stipson's put neutral, clarification needed for dimensions of parking turning arrangements. Although I think that even though allowing for omission of porch of existing house shaded orange in my attachment of proposed block plan below 5 cars are probably workable. Conformity in minimum size standards for bungalow bedrooms, especially a smaller one. Bruce has put object to the 4-bedroom house needed 3 parking spaces with a very narrow drive. It will be difficult for 5 cars in total to park. There is no alternative on street parking. Okay, is there any comments on that? Anyone? Anyone want to comment on that one at all? Other than what we put? There's one objection, all the rest are neutral with comments. Bruce, can you do you want to come in and sort of just elaborate or add to that? Space bar maybe? Or click on, that's it. You're there. Oh, no, you're not. Can't hear you still. About on your screen, have you unmuted yourself on the screen? Down the bottom left-hand corner on mine. It's gone mute again. Try speaking now, Bruce. No.
Chair, I think last time Councillor Davison had about 3 different microphone things, and I think Zoom sometimes chooses an obscure one to adopt. I'm not sure how you go about changing the, I think if you go down to where you've got the mute, there's an up arrow and you can choose a different microphone.
I think he might be chatting, possibly, are you?
It was okay earlier, but now seems to be an issue. Yeah, you were okay earlier.
Hello?
That's it.
Right. Great. I've actually been to look at this property because it really concerns me that it's a very, very small, narrow entrance. You can see it on the plans, but it really is very, very small. It's only a one-car entrance. And if you put the 3 cars in front of the original house, and as Alan, I think, has pointed out, it's doable with the 2 other cars at the new bungalow, but I can see it really being tight. Now, in their original statement, they're saying they only need 4 parking spaces in total, 2 for the old house, 2 for the new bungalow. But surely there needs to be 3 spaces for a 4-bedroom detached property.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there is going to be 3 spaces. And in fact, when I went round there on Sunday, there was 3 cars there. Right? But that's irrelevant because it could be visitors. But I think there could be no end of problems because there's going to be no barrier between the 2 properties. So I can see there being a real issue maybe in the future when you got not just 5 cars potentially, but visitors with no on-street parking at all. Because where the property is situated, I don't know if Councillor Brown knows it, but you know it's right on a corner, and you just can't park anywhere on street. So I could see a real issue if there's double parking or whatever. It could lead to conflict. And I don't know the size of the rooms in the new bungalow, which is obviously what Councillor Stinchcombe was obviously alluding to, and I think yourself, Councillor Hanlon.
Yeah.
So it might seem a small issue, but the more I kept on looking at this and then having a site visit myself, it's of concern to me.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Is there any other comments at all? Do you, Councillor Davison, do you think it's overdevelopment?
Well, that's the other thing, because if you read his, it's a very well set out document, and it states that this has been done in and around Roman Way and in Justinian Close in the past. Well, guess what? I've yet to find somewhere else that's done it. I don't know, again, if Councillor Brown can confirm. A lot of people in the Roman Way development have added to the properties, extended them, built above the garages, whatever, but I've yet to see anyone ever having built a property within their existing garden. Now, I agree. I've got a very, very big property because, as again, Councillor Brown knows, mine was one of the show houses, so it is a very big property, big land, but none of them really allow, I would say, any scope to put another property on the land. So it's not really factual what they're saying.
That's a good point, and that should be added on our comments, really, to be honest. Councillor Stinchcombe?
Well, I think we did have a conversion of a garage into a bungalow, though, on the Roman Way estate within the last year. It wasn't like it wasn't a demolish and build something new, but it was definitely a conversion. So it's not totally without precedent.
Right, I've come to Councillor Brown because I think he wants to comment on that point first before I come to Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I know of a couple of annexes where people have built onto the side of their houses, and they're now 2A or something like that, but they're still attached to the house. What Alan's saying around the separate property, I'm not aware of it. It most probably is, yeah, as he says. But I say that if there is, they're very, very few, and I'd agree with Bruce. Yeah, the estate's set out quite nicely, and to try and squeeze houses in doesn't sit well with me either. But the thing that I was guided by was that none of the nearby residents have written in or objected. That's what I was guided by. I looked, and I looked again this afternoon just to make sure any of the residents hadn't objected, because I was expecting residents in there to object, and none of them had. So hence neutral. I don't particularly like it, but yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Smith.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with Bruce. But although I didn't make a site visit, I was looking on Google earlier, Street View, and had to look at the satellite view as well. And I agree. There's a very small opening in which, for them to access the property, and it could cause some difficulties, I think, in future. Between neighbours, for example. Plus, it does seem to be a bit of overdevelopment to me. When you look at the actual site itself, although I welcome more bungalows in town, I think we do need a few more. Again, I think it might be a little bit too much for that particular site.
Thank you for that. Any other comments at all?
Just exactly. I think the property that we looked at last year, it was Minerva Close, was it? It was one of the garage that it ran alongside Couples Road, I think it was. But it was actually in Minerva Road, the house itself. So I think there is a precedent on this.
All right.
I'm sure there is, but I mean, I actually walked around the whole of Roman Way development on Sunday. No hardship to me because I like walking, and I couldn't see anything at all. But if Councillor Stinchcombe and Councillor David Smith are saying there has been, then I bow to that. But regardless, going back to the one that we're talking about, it's the entrance that is very narrow, and the fact is that there will be 5 cars.
Yeah, I think it may not have just been built yet. I mean, so it was only last year, so it may not actually been built yet.
Right.
Councillor Burns?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, the one in Minerva Close, like has been mentioned, is actually an annex to the building. There's a subtle difference between a new property and an annex. Planners tend to be more happy about annexes than they do about brand new housing in basically what is a garden. And to try and do something like that in terms of overdevelopment, there are rules about building in your garden, properties, separate properties. And, there was one up Bumpstead Road not long ago where they wanted to build a separate property, and the planners objected strongly to it until they said, well, okay, we'll make it an annex. It will never be part of the, it'll never be a separate property. It will not have separate council rates. It won't have a separate postcode, address or anything. So they may have a problem getting this through anyway, but certainly the one in, it was 17 Minerva Close, ran by, as Dave says, by Couples Road there. They are working on it now. They're building it now. But it was actually an annex, not a new development.
It was 18, not 17. I've just looked it up.
You say potato, I say potato.
I'm looking at it now. 17 Minerva Close, it says. Okay.
Well, I've just looked it up on our minutes from November, and it's definitely 18 there. I mean, it might have been a typo in our minutes.
Yeah.
Perish the thought.
Perish the thought.
So can we have a proposal for a decision on this then? Are we changing from neutral to object?
Well, I propose object.
Councillor Davison's proposal, objection on that then.
I would second that.
Councillor Smith is going to second that.
Thank you.
Right, all those in favour, objection on that? All those against? That's 5-2. Okay. Right, thank you very much. Right, just got to find the agenda now. Well, I've got the thing. Oh, here we are. Right, the item 7, which is matters to report. to enable members to exchange any urgent planning matters. Anyone got anything to say? Councillor Burns, are you putting your hand up?
Well, I was going to, but I've spoken about the relief road, and there's desperately something else I was going to report on as well, and I can't remember what it was, so forget it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brown?
Thanks, Chair. All it is around Alan's excellent spreadsheet. That it's great for looking up the application numbers, etc., and where the boxes are for our comments. I'm a little bit concerned that, you know, before we've heard the discussion around, you know, until we've had our meeting, that we're actually putting on, you know, neutral, object, etc. I don't, you know, I think people can put comments on there, but maybe not put, you know, what they're thinking is their decision, because, you know, twice during tonight I've been swayed, and you know, really I think we should just put comments on there and then, you know, come to a decision at the end. I don't know, once we've had the meeting, not actually writing it down on a spreadsheet before we've actually had the meeting. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that. Yeah. Okay.
Good point. Councillor Davison?
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, but Councillor Stinchcombe put this very good spreadsheet together because at one point, Councillor Hanlon was going to have delegated powers, and obviously the spreadsheet was obviously going to be used so that he could see the various thoughts for one, but now we're having meetings. So I think the spreadsheet is still very, very good, but I hear what you're saying, Councillor Brown. I think it's not a bad thing, you know, just to put something else, to put your own thoughts down. The meetings will go a lot faster normally if we at least know where we think we're going to go. But obviously this is a committee where we...
Oh, you've gone off again for some reason. Sorry about that last bit, but I think we've got the gist of it. Right, Councillor Smith?
Yeah, I just agree. I just agree with Councillor Brown on that, because although I was going to put my comments earlier, but I had some technical difficulties doing so, I think my mind has been swayed as well on a couple of those. So I fully agree with Councillor Brown.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been swayed. I've been changed. Yeah, I think we need to just put comments and don't put whether we object or neutral or whatever. I totally agree with that. I don't know if there's anybody wants to speak up against what three of us just said, or four of us have said. I think Councillor Davison, you was nod. I think you was in favour of you agreeing with Councillor Brown, was you? Just nod. Yeah, I think he was. Councillor Stitchcombe?
I think Councillor David Smith was mooting this earlier today, that really we don't need to be putting comments on there at all, potentially.
Councillor Smith, do you want to speak on that?
That's just my point of view. I mean, other people may find it helpful. A lot of the time, I do like to try and hear a full discussion before putting my thoughts down on paper. That's me. Other people may be different.
Yeah, I think it's up to the individual if they. Oh, Councillor Crooks.
No, it's proved tonight that we come into a committee meeting with an open mind, and that is exactly how it should be.
Yep. Councillor Davison, and then Councillor Brown.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I was just actually agreeing with everyone. You know, at the end of the day, I find this spreadsheet very, very good. I've already decided what I'm going to put down, but it's also very interesting to see other people's comments. But it is a committee. So, you know, we obviously just discuss, debate, and we come to a decision. So I like the spreadsheet that Councillor Stinchcombe's put together.
Okay. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, cheers, Chair. Yeah, no, I really appreciate the work that Anna's done on this. And, it's very, very useful to see people's comments, because some people, during the course of the last week or so that the spreadsheet's been around, some of the stuff's been highlighted, some things that I hadn't even thought about. So I've actually had a look at those, and so I totally think there's massive value in the spreadsheet. But as I was saying, it's just a little bit concerned around putting an early stage, whether you're neutral, etc., etc.
Yeah, especially the public as well. They must have got confused.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Councillor Burns.
Yes, so I've just remembered what I was going to say. Very quickly, please, Jason, the yellow lines that are missing in Brook Service Road on the taxi rank. I had David Stiff from Highways on coming back to me today, say they're going to put those down. They were missed off the CPE things because they need to be they're not enforceable under the CPE.
I was going to mention taxis on the earlier application, as well as buses and taxis on and Suckling, but I thought I'd better not.
No, ban them totally.
Yeah, and by the way, thanks for getting that High Street outside Barclays Bank done as well, John, at long last. Because my wife tripped up the actual signs, the black things.
Well, it wasn't just
really,
me. It
really
wasn't
done her knee in. She really damaged her knee badly.
Yeah, it wasn't just me, but I think it proves the benefit of social media and copying all and sundry, that you get a phone call half an hour later from Highway saying they're going to finish do the work quickly.
That's good. Yeah. Right. Okay. Anyone else want to speak? No? Right. Thank you very much. Next meeting is on the 9th of June. Thank you very much, everyone, for this long meeting. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Colin.
Good night, everyone.
Right.
Good night. Thanks. Cheers.
I'll end the live stream, Colin.